Cost of living in NEPA. Locals might say it's expensive, but those moving or investing here from places like New York or New Jersey will probably say that they could get way more for their money. But let's jump into the numbers. Here we go. Hi, I'm Ireland, and thanks so much for coming by the Living in NEPA channel, where we talk about what it's like to live, move, and invest here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We are also a team of realtors and would love a chance to earn your business, so please give us a call, text, or email anytime. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen. Typically, cost of living doesn't change much from year to year, but we are in new times in the beginning of 2025. So I wanted to make a little bit of a cost of living video to help you guys understand what you might be getting into if you plan to buy a home here. NEPA stands for the Northeast region of Pennsylvania, and it's made up of a bunch of smaller towns and mid-sized cities, so I thought I would just group them all together because they aren't very big in terms of size or distance. The only two cities that might be recognized from somebody who's not from the area is going to be Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, which are like the two biggest cities in Luzerne, Lackawanna County. Cost of living is a big topic, and we're going to get into all the things that I think you might need to know, but the biggest thing that's on everyone's mind is housing, which for good reason. Housing is a big portion of everyone's monthly expenses. And of course, year over year here in NEPA, we have seen dramatic price increases and some decreases, and this has been happening all over the US. So let me help you understand what you might be getting yourself into. From 2024 to 2025 alone, the average sold price of a home in the Luzerne County market increased a little over 6%, from $222,000 to $235,000. And the Luzerne County market increased 26%, from $220,000 to $278,000. Now, I think this number could get a little skewed due to the amount of smaller homes and fixer-uppers in the area. But let's just say, for the sake of this example, you are an average family, 2 spouses, 2 kids, and you guys are looking for a home. You're typically looking for a 3-bedroom house, maybe looking for a yard and a pool, possibly, but let's say you're gonna compromise on that for now. Typically, those buyers are spending around $220,000 to $400,000, but we're gonna stay at the bottom for the sake of this example because it could still be done at $220,000. Maybe not with a pool, but it could still be done. For this scenario, let's say you're purchasing a $220,000 house and you're taking out a conventional loan, but you're only putting down the minimum, which is 3%. This means that your down payment is going to be $6,600. The interest rates right now are, I would say, around 7%. Some loans do have a lower percentage interest rate, and actually some banks allow you to buy down your rate, but that just means that you're going to be coming up with more cash out of pocket, and a lot of buyers don't want to do that, or they don't have the money to do that. So we're just going to stick with a 7% interest rate. So with your down payment of $6,600, you're going to also be responsible for closing costs, which is usually about 3 to 4% of the purchase price. So let's just say $6,000. So right now you are $13,000 out of pocket, and a monthly payment on that would be somewhere around $1,800 a month. And as we get through some other expenses that come with owning a home, like homeowners insurance, taxes, and utilities, that number will start to make sense because that number does include homeowners insurance and taxes. So maybe you don't want to buy a home right away, and maybe you want to rent a home or an apartment first. The rental market here in NEPA is currently very saturated. From last year to this year, rents have increased about 5 to 7%. And actually, renters make up about 40% of NEPA's population. Right now, the average rental price for a 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment is right around $1,300 to $1,400 a month. That could be with or without utilities. There are some, though, that are more expensive, and there are some that are cheaper. And unlike a lot of other areas, realtors are involved in rentals here. You can find rentals on Zillow, Trulia, and straight from the MLS if you're working with an agent. And sometimes you will find agent listed rentals on Zillow, Trulia, HotPads, those sources that are listed by an agent but not on the MLS. So if you're moving across the country to Northeast Pennsylvania, it's not going to be hard to find a place to rent. That's what I typically recommend to people who are doing that, or you can stay in a short-term rental like an Airbnb. But let's say you decided to purchase a house, and let's talk about some of the expenses that are related to that. So let's talk about taxes. Property taxes are something that you're paying no matter what. You're not going to get out of paying taxes, unfortunately. And in the NEPA area, they are a little higher depending on which area you are going to live in. But the average is about $200 to $300 a month. So let's say with a $220,000 house that you purchased, it will be assessed by the county tax appraiser, and that amount is typically a little lower than what you purchased it for. It's usually around 1.5% to 2% of what you purchased it for. So for the sake of this example, you have a $220,000 house and you're going to be paying around $3,000 in taxes. Now, one important thing about PA is the Homestead Exemption or Taxpayer Relief Act. So what this does is it allows you to claim your property as your homestead, and in turn, you can apply for a reduction of the taxable portion of your home. Okay, your next expense as a homeowner is going to be property insurance. This insurance covers things like floods, fires, winds, and any natural disaster. Flood insurance is a little bit different, and I'll get into that next. This insurance is typically about 0.5%. So with our example of a $220,000 house, you're going to be paying around $1,100 a month in property insurance. And each lender varies in what they require, and insurers do it differently as well. If you live in an area that is more likely to be flood prone, you're probably going to be required to get flood insurance, especially if you are taking a loan out. The last major flood was in 2011, but some areas avoided that due to the levee system that we have in place, and that stretches about 12 miles up and down the Susquehanna River. So if you live in an area that is protected by this levee system, you will most likely avoid paying flood insurance, and you'll only have to be responsible for a levee fee, which is about $100 to $150 a year. You can determine what areas and specific properties are in a flood zone by going to the FEMA.org website and just typing in the property address that you're interested in looking at, and it'll pop right up on there. And typically flood insurance will be cheaper than your property insurance. Now, another expense you'll have whether you are buying or renting here is utilities. Utilities are typically higher here because we have a winter season, but they could also be high in the summer if you have a pool. On a really, really cold month or a really, really hot month, my home can typically get up to like $500 or $600 a month, but that usually only lasts for about 2 to 3 months. I also have a in-ground pool, so that expense is very similar to, heating my home in the winter. My water bill is high in the summer and my gas bill is high in the winter. But that number is definitely going to vary depending on the size and style of your home. Also, whether your home is well insulated is also very important, because some of these homes are very, very old and are not properly insulated. Now, some other things that you might not think of as utilities are pool expenses, lawn care expenses, and pest control. A lot of people take care of their pool themselves, but you could have somebody do it for you. Between general upkeep and supplies, and depending on the size and style of your pool, like an above ground or an in ground, you'll probably be spending on average $300 for the entire summer season. This does not include the extra added water, gas, or electric to your bill. If you need to pay for lawn care, whether you're renting or buying, and yes, some landlords do require you to take care of the lawn, you're probably going to be spending around $100 a month. Some lawn care companies will do bi-weekly, so it kind of just all depends on your financial situation. Now, even though we are up north, there are a fair number of homes that do have active signs of pests, so it is good to get treatment then once or twice a year. Even if you don't have active pests, it's still good to use as a preventative because a lot of these homes are 75 to 100 years old and are prone to water penetration in and or around the basement. Typically that ranges from $40 to $70 a month, but monthly might not be necessary. I don't like bugs, but so if I could, I would do it monthly, but I just do it twice a year. A lot of people will just do it once a year. The next cost that everyone is going to have, whether you're buying or renting, is transportation. The NEPA area is a very car-dependent city. There is public transportation. There's bike lanes and public buses and things like that. But if you're going to be traveling very far, you're probably going to need a car or a car service to get you there. But I would plan on having a car if you do plan on moving here to the NEPA area. When it comes to car repairs, it's pretty consistent with national averages. You're not really going to be surprised by it being expensive or cheap in this particular area. However, some gas stations like Sheetz will have price reductions on gas during the holidays sometimes, so you just have to watch out for that. Car registration is pretty standard in Pennsylvania. My car is about $40 to get it registered every year, but I guess it depends on the type of car that you have. If you have an eco-friendly car, it might be different. If you have a bigger truck, it might be a little bit more expensive for you. And the car insurance for my car, I have a clean record. I have no tickets or accidents or anything like that. Mine is about $100 a month, but it might be a little higher depending on what type of coverage you have for your car. Food costs, which everyone experiences, food costs are typical with national averages. You're not going to be really surprised unless you're from a big city like New York that's really, really expensive anywhere you go. But here, you're not gonna get a full meal really for less than probably about $10 to $12. Sales tax is 6%, and how they use these taxes vary from county to county. Now, if you're looking to start a business, there are different programs and grants out here depending on the city that you're living in that can definitely help you out financially. For example, in Wilkes-Barre City, the Spark Grant Program is for new or relocating businesses moving into the city. They actually could pay up to the first year of rent up to $10,000 and parking. So if you're interested in moving here and bringing your business with you, definitely look into those towns for different grant programs. Other than that, there are more and more businesses and restaurants and franchises expanding into our area every year. Some of these include Pliables, Chipotle, Duck Donuts, Hobby Lobby, Dave & Buster's, Boot Barn, Burlington, Sheetz, Wawa, different restaurants, different Asian and Mexican restaurants, and some new retail stores. So just to name a few, but I will link some of those below. Spending could get a little bit out of hand if you travel for work, go to different sporting events for your kids or your personal lives, or different amusement parks, extracurricular activities, whatever you like to do. And these are expenses that I call expenses in your control. These are things like your cell phone, your car payment, health insurance, and food, which is why I won't go into too much detail about these. When it comes to finding a job in NEPA, just like many jobs in the US, a lot of places are hiring, but a lot of those are entry-level positions. There are also a lot of ways to be remote and a lot of unique freelance jobs as well. But there are a lot of new businesses and jobs being created here, which is why there are a lot of people that do relocate to live in this area. That way you're living somewhere cheaper and hopefully you're making the same amount of money, and when you do have to go into work, it's not as far. So right now, the average household income in the NEPA area is about $65,000, and I think you could get by with that, but it just seems to be getting tighter and tighter to get by with in this area. Cost of living is a big part of this channel and a big part of your searches online, and we would love to answer any questions you might have. So if you have any specific questions about the cost of living in any PA or in Pennsylvania in general, please comment them down below and we will do a cost of living Q&A video. Hopefully by consuming this content, you will not be thrown off about what the NEPA area is like. So if there's anything specific that you want to know, that you feel confused about, you have questions on, or people are warning you about, please comment down below. I will be in the comments trying to answer some of those, or you can also send me a message. And as always, if you do want to buy, sell, or invest here in NEPA, we would love to help you. Our phone number and email are right there on the screen and in the description down below. Thanks for coming by.